to you, to have that short company of putting out 9, 10 great records, you know, the only other person in hip hop that I could think that did that was Jay-Z. And now that you guys work on the same team, it seems like it's going to be a wonderful thing.
I got my work cut out for me, man.
Yeah.
I got it cut out for me.
The names behind the albums are always symbolic. What's the meaning behind game theory?
The professor that A Beautiful Mind was based on, he won a Nobel Peace Prize for, there's an actual formula. Like my manager was explaining to me, it's like, you know there's a formula for winning and losing, right? And someone actually won a Nobel Prize for coming up with a mathematical formula to winning and losing. So, you know, for me it's important that each Roots album title embody what we go through, what hip-hop is going through, and what the world is going through. Like for every album, from Things Fall Apart to the tipping point, to even now. And I mean, the whole idea behind game theory is that, you know, someone's going to win and someone's going to lose. You know what I mean? So it's up in the air. Like usually they're ambiguous sort of like to be conclusion references. You know, did hip hop fall apart? Did hip hop reach its tipping point? Did the Roots fall apart? You know, did we jump? You know, like I kind of like to leave questions open. So
it's almost like
I can't wait to get to I can't wait to get to the next record because there's a good album title that I want to use. But if people follow my reference point, we might call the next album A Patch of Blue, based on a Sidney Poitier film. And only because of the narrative of that film. Like, I see that almost more as the story of hip-hop today, more than I saw the story of Things Fall Apart. But, you know, it's one thing that...
It was fitting for that time, you know.
It's one thing to challenge somebody to read Things Fall Apart, but, you know, when people sort of see the narrative of Sidney Poitier in this film, they might start scratching their heads and getting offended. But, yeah, we might call it a Patch of Blue.
Do you feel... all the leaning and rocking and snapping. Do you feel very quietly there's like a resurgence of the native tongue movement going on? Or is it going to take...
To be honest, no. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I talked to the participants in my thing. I mean, I'm still close with Common and Quali and Most and stuff, but it's like, you know, I mean, clearly a tsunami has occurred on our property. And, you know, I understand cats got to run for cover, you know, like making sure your daughter has, you know, clothes for school and a secure home. Like that's some real shit. So it's like, you know, you got to do what you got to do. I mean, I actually do see the native tongue thing occurring, but I sort of see that occurring with this crew from LA, Sarah Creative Partners, one of Kanye's groups. Right. I mean, there's a crew. They have a crew of people between Georgia, Murdow, who's on Stone's Throw, and this other group that we're messing with called J. Davy. Those to me I see as the next route of native tongues, but it doesn't mean that, you know, we're all not going to be like a close-knit clique, but just like the native tongues sort of drifted apart, you know, Most is sort of doing his thing with his movie career. Common is more like on the good music side of thing. I mean, even though we'll do this shit together. Yeah. But, I mean, the idea of, like, the jam sessions and spending the night at the house, like, I see now how the native tongues just got older, and it's more like, okay, well, you know, that was a time period. I think that we can still, I think the left to center will always have influence, only because it has to be reactionary to whatever the right is doing. So right now the pendulum is still on the left. I'm pretty sure that it's about to make its way to the right. Once a backlash to the right happens, even 50 called it. 50's like, well, you know, I know I'm responsible for Kanye's success because people are so tired of me, they just need to like the opposite guy. You know, and I'm sure that once that runs its course, then it'll be the next bad guy, then the next good guy, then the next, you know, so my whole object is never to get on that swing, just to watch it from the audience eating popcorn, making sure that, you know, I don't get caught.
That's been a dichotomy in hip-hop. There's always, one has to exist for the other to exist.
Well, yeah, it's a reaction. Hip-hop is definitely a reactionary thing, you know. Hip-hop's whole existence is reactionary to poverty conditions, So if that's the basis of it, then of course, if the economic, economic system determines the direction of hip hop, then you're sort of held hostage. But I will do my best to defy the odds, and I want to be the first hip hop group to release a great 15th album. Now John's going to get on my case.
Yo,
Thank you, man.
Appreciate the time, man.
All right, you're welcome.
Most definitely.